Okay, here we go, and we got some major news. The big trade piece on the market. Shohei Ohtani is officially off the market, according to Tom Verducci. It says here, Angels take Shohei Ohtani off trade market, intend to make postseason push. Now, you're getting two sides to this. So you got one side saying the Angels are making a mistake. You should take advantage of the package that you would get for him, considering he would be the most expensive rental of all time. And a lot of people are thinking the Angels aren't good enough to compete for a playoff spot, so they want to trade Ohtani. And then you have another side saying, hey, no, we got to keep Ohtani here with the Angels. We want the best chance possible of signing him in the offseason. And if you trade him away, you're essentially guaranteeing that you're not going to be bringing him back. And you want to try and, keep your best team together to compete for a playoff spot. So if we go take a look at the current standings, the Angels are playing well as of late, 7-3 in their last 10. They're 4 back in the wild card race. Remember, they got into a pretty bad funk there, and they were starting to really fall out of it, but now they've picked it up, and they still find themselves within striking distance of that third wild card spot. Now, let's take a look at some numbers here. When it comes to the offense, the Angels' offense this year is very good. 5th overall on the year. But when you take a look, since Mike Trout has been out, you're probably thinking, oh man, this offense has not been that great. No, the Angels' offense since Mike Trout was placed on the IL is 8th overall. So they're still hitting the ball quite well. When you take a look at the pitching, now, the Angels starting pitching is pretty solid overall, 11th in Fangraph WAR. When you take a look at the ERA, it is a 4.62. The FIP and the XFIP look a little better, but one thing the Angels do well, they're getting a lot of strikeouts this year. They tend to give up the home run ball, but overall, it's not the worst pitching staff. It's a pretty decent pitching staff overall. Now, when you take a look at the rotation, obviously you got Ohtani at the top, Reed Detmers, he's been pretty solid this year. Lately, Griffin Canning, Sandoval, and Silseth, these guys have been great. So the starting pitching has been pretty decent lately. So when you take a look at the bullpen, though, now this is something that the Angels are going to have to address. If you take a look at the ranking in Fangraph WAR, they're only 26 overall. They have a 4.18 ERA. They have a 4.45 FIP, a 4.57 XFIP. Now, when I look a little closer, I see they're not getting a ton of strikeouts in that bullpen, just under 9 per 9. And if you take a look at the walks, 4 walks per 9. That is not a very good strikeout to walk ratio. And now, if we go back to the article, Tom Verducci says that they're going to be focusing on adding a starting pitcher and a reliever before the deadline. And I got a couple of guys that I think would be perfect. Let's go take a look. Okay, so we were just talking about the starting pitching, but I think if they were to add someone to this rotation, I think Lucas Giolito would be the perfect addition, and I'll tell you why. 21 starts, 121 innings pitched, ERA at a 3.79, FIP at a 4.46 is a little higher, but the strikeout to walk ratio is pretty solid, just under 10 strikeouts per 9, 3 walks per 9. The home runs are up a little bit with him this year, but he is more of a fly ball pitcher, but that actually gets into my next point here. If we take a look, Lucas Giolito is 8th overall when it comes to fly ball percentage. And if we take a look at the Angels outfield when it comes to outs above average, they are 5th overall. So I think that could go hand in hand with each other. I think if you have Ohtani and Giolito at the top of this rotation, I think that's really solid with guys like Detmers and Anderson behind him, and Sandoval as well. Either Canning or Silseth can go to the bullpen. I think the Angels could use some more reinforcements in the bullpen. So I think this would be a good fit. Now, I put together an interesting trade here. For the Angels, you get Giolito, but for the White Sox, I have Ben Joyce going back to the White Sox. That seems like the perfect guy that the White Sox would want. They love those guys that just have high velocity, just pure stuff. I think Ben Joyce, I know Angels fans, you probably don't want to give him up, but remember, you got to give up something good to get something good. Maybe you don't have to give up Ben Joyce. I just thought when I looked at the guys here, Joyce just seems like a guy the White Sox would want. Maybe you could switch him out with a couple other guys, but I do think this total value is going to be what you're going to have to put on the board here to get Giolito, because there's a lot of competition for Giolito out there. Already a lot of teams out there showing interest in Giolito. So I think whoever ends up getting him, they're going to have to overpay quite a bit, at least a moderate overpay. We'll have to wait and see how it turns out. So Angels fans, let me know, would you trade Ben Joyce if that means you were able to get a really solid starting pitcher like a Lucas Giolito? Let me know what you think down below. So let's move on to the bullpen because I have an idea for that as well. So let's take a look at the bullpen. You do have Carlos Estevez at the back end of it. He is having a really good year, but I think they need something else in this bullpen. If we take a look at the numbers overall, they are 20th when it comes to strikeouts per 9. And I got one guy in mind who gets a lot of strikeouts, and he goes by the name of Josh Hader. If the Padres are to sell, I think you got to trade Josh Hader because you're definitely going to get a couple of pieces for him. If we take a look at the numbers here, he is having an amazing year. 40 games, a 0.95 ERA, a 2.31 FIP. I mean, these are just solid numbers. When you take a look at the strikeouts, just under 14 per 9. The walks are up this year with him, but the home runs are down. So I think this would be a really good addition for the Angels bullpen. The trade that I have put together here, now when it comes to Hader's value, it's listed at a 2.9 median value, but it definitely could get up there a little bit more. So the pieces that I have going back to the Padres, a couple of prospects. We got Dana and Soriano. So as of right now, Soriano is your number 10 and Dana is your number 8. I could see something like that where you got to give up maybe 2 top 10 prospects to get a deal done. This would be considered a moderate overpay. But overall, for the Angels, I think, if you're going to keep Ohtani, you got to make some moves here. You got to make some good moves for this team down the stretch. You can't just stand pat. You can't just make even just a couple of minor moves. If you're going to keep Ohtani, you better go out there and make some good moves. I mean, heck, if you're going to go trade for Josh Hader, go see if maybe you can go get Blake Snell as well. Maybe a package. I don't know about that. I don't know if the Padres would want to package them together. They would probably get more if you trade them separately. I don't know, but Blake Snell, I think, would even be a really good addition. But in the end, I think, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here with the Angels. They're going to be keeping Ohtani now. So if you're going to keep Ohtani, you better put your best foot forward and you better go get some good pieces to help this team down the stretch because this is your last chance. If you want Ohtani to stick around for the long term, you better make the best moves that you can. You better have a lot of sleepless nights if you want to make this Angels team better. But those are my thoughts. Tell me your thoughts down below. What do you think about the Angels wanting to hang on to Ohtani? What do you think the Angels need to do? What kind of moves do you think they should make? Tell me everything you think down below in the comments. But that's all I have for right now. If you can on the way out, hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.